The number one thing that you have to love about this film is the retro futuristic production design. Okay. This director, Shackman, done some TV, a lot of TV. WandaVision has a very specific vision for this. You can tell from the trailer, certainly in the build up to this, that you're getting something different, very unique vision. And that goes a very, very long way here tonight as you take in Fantastic Four First Steps. The world of New York City in the 60s and just the overall lived in feel of everything here, it really is so far superior to anything that I've seen in a Marvel film recently. Certainly better than Thunderbolt / Thundercocks. Captain America Brave New World, right? This film buries those two, just going back for the past two MCU films. And that manifests itself in creating, really, when you talk about any film that you want to, especially you talk about a CBM, sci-fi spectacle, whatever it is, and this has a little of all of that, you need to have me believing that where we are actually exists. And that gets back to that production design. The world building here is stellar. And I would argue the visual effects, some of the best that they've ever been in any Marvel film. Sure, there's a few weak spots with Silver Surfer. But beyond that, I think that when you get to particularly Galactus, listen, I'm not the biggest CBM guy, right? I grew up with comic books. I collected some, but I'm not like the total nerd geek channel, right? With a bunch of action figures and boxes behind me. These are FYC screeners, okay? So a little different you're getting here. So when I knew about Galactus, going back to the comic books, so of course I'm aware of this, gigantic character. And I think that the film pulls it off. That was the big question mark. Could they do this? And I believe that this version that you get of Galactus is very good. Also, off the top, you heard it, I'm a big fan of the Giacchino score. Listen, we discuss so often here on MMT the importance of singularity in direction and certainly composition. When you have a composer working on a score here, you need to make sure when you're going into this retro futuristic look, you've got to mat that with a score that really pops. And that's what Giacchino has done here. He's done it in the past, right? Batman, and again, big winner here. And he definitely, at this point after tonight, vaults into my top composers in the space. You have your Reznor Ross, you have your Michael Levi, you have your Johnny Greenwood, you have your Ludwig Göransson, you have, and I'm talking about, the ones that maybe don't get discussed as much, Reznor Ross, obviously. But you need to start talking about Giacchino more than Desplat, for sure. So that is another huge positive with Fantastic Four First Steps. When you talk about performances, you start first and foremost with Vanessa Kirby, who has to do a lot here. She's pregnant. The baby comes. There's a lot of that going on. And at first I was like, I don't know if I really want to be doing this. But I think that where this film is headed, okay, where the MCU is going after this is going to depend so heavily on that specific item. Right? It's going to be a big part of Doomsday, and that leads to our post-credit scene without giving it away. And I think that when you look at Vanessa Kirby, you're talking about one of the best actresses that doesn't get the respect that a lot of, the name actresses get. Yes, awards people are familiar with Vanessa Kirby, Pieces of a Woman. Wow, knockout, right? And you look at what she has to do here. She anchors the film. Is she the girl boss? I mean, listen, it doesn't matter to me. Ultimately, if the film works, I don't care what you do. Back to Silver Surfer, same thing. When you flip that and you go and you say, we're going to do the gender swap, at first you're like, I don't know. And then when you watch the film, you're saying Julia Garner can do this. It works. So no problem with either of those things. The issue here with this film, performance-wise, is Pedro Pascal. Now, listen, this is not premeditated. I did not plan to go after Pedro Pascal. I have said in the past that I think he's hellaciously overrated as an actor. But tonight confirms that. This man gives wooden line reading after wooden line reading. It is not quality work. The only time that Pedro Pascal becomes semi-erect, because he's flaccid the entire time, is when he has to, at the end, show emotion as his wife could possibly pass away. But that's the only time that you see Pedro muster up even a semi-erect performance. You're watching MMT. You're not watching Stuckman. You're not watching John. This is what we do. If you don't like it, the door's over there. Goodbye. And Pedro Pascal, I don't know what the fascination is with this guy, because here again in a role that really, how do you fuck this up? Well, Pedro did. He's miscast. He is weak. He's wooden, forgettable, and he is the very clear weak spot of this film. Everyone else is game. Everyone else is very good. Chemistry strong. I really like this film, and I'm telling you, audiences are going to like it too. 90% here from MMT on the score this evening. That is much higher than I expected. And again, I do believe this is one of Marvel's best films, and certainly without question, better than anything the MCU has dished out lately.